Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. Another not so bad week. It's manageable, which is always a plus. Because it's hard for me to do like a ton of comic reviews, and I know it gets tough on you because there's like these go on and on. But this week has some really good stuff, and there's one that's really special, and we're going to start off with that one first. It's the Batman Catwoman special, written by Tom King, with artwork by John Paul Leon and Bernard Chang, with Sean Crystal and Mitch Gerrards. So this one is a tough one because, unfortunately, last year, John Paul Leon passed away from cancer. And he was working on this, and he got about the first like 15 pages done, and then he had laid out some of the other pages, but he ultimately didn't get to finish it. So it had been solicited, I think before he passed away or right after he passed away. So, and then DC postponed it because, one, obviously he didn't finish the artwork, and two, they wanted to make it more of a like tribute to him and his artwork. So what it is the first like so many pages are finished by him. Then the layouts for the next set that he had finished, or that he had done the layouts for, were done by Bernard Chang with Sean Crystal. And then the final part of the story that had not been laid out is done by Mitch Gerrards. So that's how the layout of the book is. So the story is basically mirrors. It's kind of a side story to what Tom King has been doing in the Batman Catwoman series. And so what this is it kind of, it's not really an origin story, but of Catwoman. It does show her early years as a little girl on the orphanage, and her growing up. And then, of course, there's the current thing where her and Bruce are together, and then they basically grow old together, and so, and it takes place at there's the shades of Christmas, because this was originally supposed to come out around Christmas time. So there's that. And what makes this, I mean, it's a really good story. Tom King has really been knocking it out of the park on the regular Batman Catwoman. But what makes this not only great but very bittersweet is that it deals with Bruce and Selina getting older, and as we all know, it's sorry, but it's a bit of a spoiler, but it isn't in a way. It's about that life is finite. So I'll just leave it at that. So obviously that has kind of, well, it has a huge emotional impact when you're reading, knowing that John Paul Leon is no longer with us, and we're not going to see any more of his. This is the last of his artwork, and it's very, not only is it a touching story, but it really is very emotional. On top of the story itself, knowing that this is his last work. The other nice thing is that there's some dedications to him. The Kurt Biscuit does one, and it's because he had worked on Shadow of the Bat with him. And then here, let me look, because I don't want to Michael Davis writes, because he was the original artist on Static Shock during the original Milestone run. It also reprints two of his short stories, one of them from Batman Black and White, one of them from one of those DC specials. And then there's a ton of like pinups that are really just not only great, but you could tell that the creators did this as a wonderful tribute to John Paul Leon. And it's just, it's really one of those books that not only it's really great on its own, but it's so, so much more emotional knowing the story behind how it got to the finish line. And it's just, it's really, one, you should buy it because it's a really great story. It's a great story with great artwork by the entire team, but also the fact that I know that all these creators that came in to do this did it on their own time, and they didn't, they've donated their time and the artwork and everything, and so the other thing is that I'm sure that a lot of the money that is going to be raised from this issue will go to his family. So there's that. But first and foremost, it's a really great story with wonderful art, and then on top of that, it's a bittersweet thing because of him passing away. But when all's said and done, it is really wonderful and heartfelt, and just really, it's definitely one of the must buys this week. Next up, we have Mary Jane and Black Cat Beyond #1, written by Jed MacKay with artwork by CF Villa. Now, this was one of those where I haven't been reading any of this Beyond stuff or any of these things, but I thought, okay, first there's a J. Scott Campbell cover, which is, nice because he doesn't really do a lot of artwork. He does covers every once in a while, but it was, and then I'm like, okay, Black Cat, Mary Jane, but I really have to give it to MacKay that it's not really a mind-numbingly brilliant story, but that's perfectly fine because it's fun. That is the key. It's so what it is Peter Parker's he's in a coma in the hospital, and he's being held at gunpoint by the Hood, and he wants his hood back that had been stolen or by another villain. So Black Cat has like 24 hours to go get it, or he's going to kill Peter. And so he convinces the Hood to let Mary Jane come with him. So it's kind of like a girls' night out on a mission. So that's the basic story, and it's just honestly a lot of fun. And it really, it's the other nice thing, it's a one and done story, so you don't have to read anything else. It's just the story. It stands on its own, and it's really was surprisingly fun. And then Villa's artwork is actually really nice, and it's there because he's able to capture not only the action, because there's like a heist to get the bag and the cloak back, but also like the humor, just like the looks in people's faces and stuff. It's really, like I said, I was very surprised by it. It's a lot of fun, and I rather enjoyed it, and it was a nice change of pace where you don't have to read 12 other things. It was just a fun story that was by itself. Next up, we have Saga 55, written by Brian K. Vaughan and with artwork by Fiona Staples. Yes, it's back. It seems like it's been an eternity since issue 54 came out, which it kind of has. But part of there was a planned break for the book, and it became much longer, obviously, because they wanted to make sure that Fiona got ahead on this so there wouldn't be any delays, because there were some delays towards the end of the first half of the run. But also, the world started coming to an end because we're a pandemic, so there's a lot of stuff going on. But I will say, so there's good and bad news. The only bad news I can say is if you've never read Saga, this is not particularly a good starting point. The good news is that all of the 54 previous issues have been collected. There's trades of it. There's a compendium that includes all 54 issues. There's also 3 hardcovers. So it's now is the time to catch up and really get back into Saga. I will say, without having to really go back and really reread it, for the most part, it's easy to kind of jump right back into, even if you haven't read it for a while. Obviously, I think it would be good to go back and reread it, but otherwise, it does stand on its own. It is a good, you can tell it's the beginning of a new story arc for the series. So it is like you can ease back into it, which is always good. I will really have to say I've always been a huge fan of Fiona Staples' artwork, and she's always done a wonderful job, but boy, she really has really just just it's beautiful. It really is, and you can tell that she's definitely re-energized, and it's just it really it's a gorgeous looking book, and it's so happy that it's back, and hopefully old readers will come back, and hopefully we'll get new readers, because it really this has been a huge success in the comic industry, and this book is very much needed to like bring people back to comics. So it's a high recommendation. It's definitely worth checking out, but I would say if you haven't read it before, this is not a good starting point. But I know my comic shop is running a big sale on the trades and stuff, so maybe some other shops are too, and I'm sure everybody's been stocking up on the books, but definitely check it out. Next up, we have Peacemaker Disturbing the Peace, #1, written by Garth Ennis, with artwork by Gary Brown. So what's interesting about this is the origin of DC's Peacemaker. I wouldn't say that it's the origin of Peacemaker, because he comes from Charlton Comics, and but this is the current Peacemaker and his origin. And what's really interesting is obviously Ennis is, you know, he wrote Preacher, so obviously, and Peacemaker tends to shoot first and ask questions later, all in the name of peace. But what's interesting is it tells his origin, and it's actually pretty emotional. Like it starts off like with his family like killing, you know, going on killing themselves. They kill the kids. The only reason he lived is because he happened to like stay late at school. And it just shows that like every step of the way his childhood, it was totally effed up. And I think what's interesting about it, it's actually a very it's a very heartfelt story in some ways. And so what it is he's telling the story to a psychiatrist that's meets him on a bench for a meeting, for like an interview, because she wants to find out about his past, and he tells her everything. And it's interesting because he's just very matter of fact, and he also points out that like if he's killed somebody, there's a reason for it. And it's just in a way it's kind of low key for Ennis in some respects, but that's what makes it so good, is that he doesn't make it over the top. It's very a matter of fact, like, well, these people that were robbing the bank, I was in the back of the car. They didn't kill me. You know, I hung out with them for a while, but I realized, hey, they were bad, so I called the cops. So it's that kind of thing, and you're just like, he's just a matter of fact, like, yeah, I did this, and this is what makes me. And it's just, for me, it was a real page turner. And then Brown's artwork, I really, really enjoyed. It really fit the story, because there's a lot of it where it's just dialogue and stuff, and in a lot of ways you have the flashbacks. It's, you know, like when his parents like killed themselves, it's just like a snapshot, and it was very fascinating. And I really, really enjoyed it. And of course, now there's the Peacemaker show on HBO Max, so he's really hot right now, and obviously this is timed with that. But I think this was really a good story, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was a nice one and done story. Next up, we have the Ex Death of Wolverine #1, written by Benjamin Percy with artwork by Federico Vincentini. So I have really tried to read X-Men. I read it when it was brought back. I read the original miniseries, and then unfortunately they started making 12 X-Men books a month, and I'm just like, okay, I'm kind of done. And I do keep trying when they do come out with new ones. I give them a try. Now, first of all, I will not say this is not, you know, it wasn't bad. The problem is it's like if you haven't been reading the X-Men books, you're just kind of totally lost. I mean, you might know about like them living on the, you know, you created an island for the mutants and stuff like this. But this story, even though it's Wolverine, it's about Moira McTaggart, and Mystique is chasing her, and you just kind of feel like you're reading the third part of a story that's been going on. And that's what I've kind of struggled with when they do these sort of new mini series and stuff like that, where it just like for new readers, it's just so un-new reader friendly that it's just not. It's for people who, if you've been reading X-Men, you're probably gonna love this. If you have not been reading X-Men, I can't say that I can really recommend it. I will say the artwork's actually by Vincentini is actually very nice. Percy's script is fine. It's just that it's just not for new readers, and that's I find that a problem, that there's just not a gateway to get into these X books, and this one certainly didn't help. Next up, we have Bolero #1, written by Wyatt Kennedy with artwork by Luina Vecchito. Now, this book actually came out last week. I missed it, but I was able to catch up with it, and I have to say I was really pleasantly surprised. And part of the surprise was pretty much the entire most of the book is it's about this girl. She finds she finds another woman, and they fall in love, and they just and it really is a slice of life type story, and you're reading it and you're like, okay, this is nice, it's great, talk about relationships, and things kind of go south with relationship, but they're maybe trying to get back together and all this other stuff, and they go see this band, and they start hanging out with the lead singer. She's awesome, and it's just all this stuff, and you're like, okay, this is really great slice of life. And then she hooks up with this guy who takes her to another dimension. He goes, okay, you've got 53 chances to change your life. It's like you go through the door and you change your life. So, but don't go past 53, because you'll basically, you'll understand the universe, and your head will explode, basically. And it's this cat that's telling her. That's the other funny part. And so I don't want to reveal the cliffhanger of the end of the first issue, but you're just like, holy crap, this is it. It takes this slice of life story, so, which is good because it sets up all the characters and stuff like that, and then it does this whole Twilight Zone twist, and you're just like, holy crap, this is it's really good. I have to give Kennedy, that script is really, really spectacular. And then Vincito's artwork is really, really nice. It is really a good looking book, because once again, with the beginning, with the slice of life, it's mostly talking heads and stuff. It's really, really nice looking. And then there's just that twist, and it just will blow your mind. I was really, really shocked and amazed how much I really like this book, and it's really worth checking out. Like I said, it came out last week, but check with your local comic store, and really, it is really worth checking out. Next up, we have House of Slaughter #4. With a story by James Tynion IV and Tate Bromble, with a script by Tate Bromble and the artwork by Chris Sheehan. So now we're getting to the point where we're starting to learn what's going on in the House of Slaughter. You have the two fractions. You have kind of the Black Teeth Gang, and then you have the white, basically the black and white teams. And so what it is the two guys have fallen in love, and the problem is that when you go to the House of Slaughter, you're training to fight monsters. You can't have no emotions, you can't love, you can't do anything, and yet that's where the crux of the story comes in. Is but you can't just shove your emotions aside like that, and that's really the core of what this story is. I mean, you have on one hand, you have the whole like, we gotta train, we gotta kill monsters, and it's like, but yet I'm feeling emotions, and yet I don't know that these emotions are bad, and I really have to give Bromble that he really has captured this duality of the characters, of the two main characters, the two guys, where it just they struggle with what they know they need to do, but they also struggle that they love each other. And this issue is really interesting, because we kind of, things are starting, because there's the past and the present, things are starting to collide together. But with the present storyline, we're learning from the past. So this issue was really solid. I really like this issue. and it is, even if you haven't been reading Something is Killing the Children, I've said this does stand on its own. You have to know the basic structure of Something is Killing the Children, but then you can read this. And Sheehan is really doing a nice job in the artwork. I really enjoy it. There's a really wonderful monster scene that really is spectacular. It's still worth checking out, and I think it's still worth picking up. Next up, we have The Human Target, number 4, written by Tom King with artwork by Greg Smallwood. So Christopher Chance has been poisoned. He's got 12 days to live. He's on day 4, so issue 4. So he now hooks up with Blue Beetle to find out if Ted maybe poisoned him, maybe he wanted to kill Lex Luthor, who knows. But what's interesting is Ice is actually with him, so it's now we're kind of getting interesting. It's like, okay, is she hanging out with him because she's in love with him and likes him, or is she hanging out with him because she poisoned Lex Luthor? We don't know. We still don't know. But this issue was a lot of fun because it was like Blue Bee. So what it is, he gets a call from his secretary. Hey, there's something going on in Wyoming. We need you to go there. So it's basically they all jump in the Beetle mobile. They take off, and it's like one thing after another, and they end up at this hotel that Ted owns. And so he basically gets Ted drunk, and he learns a possible secret, which I will not reveal, but it's really good. This book is really knocking my socks off. Not only is it a great script, but what I'm also loving is Smallwood's artwork. This book looks amazing. It has this like Art Deco-y kind of 60s feel to it visually, but it's not set, but it really has that feel, and King is just really writing this book with his artwork in mind, and it's just really, really wonderful stuff. I love this book. It's really knocking my socks off. Each issue, I like how each issue he goes to a new team member of the Justice League International and trying to figure out, okay, who poisoned him. So, or well, who's going to poison Lex, but actually poison him. But definitely this is another must buy. Next up, we have Stray Dogs, Dog's Day number 2, written by Tony Fleece with artwork by Trish Forstner. So, like the first issue, what these are short stories of the dogs, the dogs that were in the main storyline. So, obviously, it helps to know that if you've read that story to know what the hell's going on with this look back at the past. But it really is wonderful because it's telling these little short stories, and I've said it before, I love short stories. And I really have to give it to Tony, where he's given backstories to these dogs and their original owners before the events in the story, and it's really wonderful and really just solid work. The one that stands out in this issue, I mean, they're really good stories, is the last story of Victor, the Dalmatian that was a firehouse dog, and that it leads really directly into what after the events in the miniseries, and it's just really a touching story, and it's really, really wonderful. I've been a big fan of Stray Dogs, and this was just really a nice, it's almost icing on an already perfect cake, because this just adds a richness to a story that we have read, hopefully you have read, and it gives really just a more depth to the characters of the dogs, which is really, really nice, even though we're seeing stories from the past. So once again, this is another win for this book. I'm really excited. I hope that they're able that Tony and Trish get back together to do either more Stray Dogs or another book, because they're a really good team, and this one just really wonderful stuff. Next up, we have Superman 78, number 6, written by Robert Venditti with artwork by Wilfredo Torres. So this finishes off the story, and in some ways you could almost say this is, in a way, what Superman 3 had Richard Donner stayed on and did the second one and possibly a third one. But it also is original in the sense of it kind of takes from the comics, especially Brainiac. That there was, once again, there was talk that he was possibly going to be a villain, but this has been a really wonderful story because not only did it bring Brainiac, but it also brought Jor-El and Krypton back, and it was really wonderful. This last issue is just a really just big blowout finale, and Vendetti just lands perfectly. And then Torres, just his artwork has been wonderful. He really captures the actors, and it's just really been a great book, especially if you're a fan, as I am, of the Richard Donner films. Then it's almost like a what if Richard Donner had stayed on and did more Supermans, and it really has been a great ride. If you've missed it, I know there's going to be a trade of it coming out soon. So definitely check it out if you're a fan of Richard Donner's Superman. Next up, we have Wonder Girl #7, written by Joelle Jones, with artwork by Leila Del Duca. So the very sad news is that apparently DC, for some unknown reason, has canceled Wonder Girl. Now, there was 2 more issues that were listed, 8 and 9 were canceled, but there's the big Wonder Woman Trials of the Amazons coming up. So apparently those 2 issues are going to be printed as specials. But unfortunately, the good news is that this issue somewhat finishes up the first story arc. So I don't really want to say too much because it does somewhat finish this first story arc in there. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's a nice landing, but the problem is that you can tell that there's more coming, and yet I don't know that the next 2 issues are gonna really keep telling enough story to fully satisfy us the way that I have been satisfied with this book. I've really enjoyed this book. Joelle Jones has really just been really doing it well. And now I do love her artwork, but Del Duca has been doing a really nice job. She does her best, and it does look nice. It's just I'm just really mystified why DC thought that they should cancel this book, because it's really been so good. I know it's been really popular at my shop, and everybody's just really disappointed about this. But at least it does somewhat finish. We'll see what those next 2 special issues, or what those next 2 issues give us. So maybe there's hope that they're going to relaunch it or something down the road. But I've enjoyed it so far, and it's a real shame that this has happened, but I did enjoy it. And then finally we have Detective Comics 1050. And basically so here's the thing. So the main reason that I picked it up was that Mark Waid and Dan Mora are going to be doing World's Finest, and this issue has a preview of their story. Now, the main story was fine. It's a new start. Mariko Tamaki and Ivan Riaz is the team. She's been writing Detective for a while. He's jumping on, and so the story's nice and everything. I enjoyed it. It was okay, but I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of Batmaned out a little bit. But I will say that the World's Finest backup by Wade and Mora is really good. It has it really captures the fun of them teaming up, because in a lot of ways, I've always said the teaming up Batman with Superman kind of doesn't make any sense. But if you can figure out the formula, or if you can come up with a formula that works, you can do it. And Wade, I can say in this preview, he really may have figured it out quite well. And I really enjoy it. And Mora's artwork is absolutely wonderful. He's been doing Detective for a while now and just been knocking out of the park. So I'm really excited. It looks really good. It was a great prelude. The shame is, obviously, it'd be nice if they'd reprint it in the first issue, but who knows what's going to happen. But I will say, if you're interested in World's Finest, you might want to pick up this issue of Detective, because it was it was well worth it. For me, it was worth the cover price just for that backup story. Not that the main story's bad. It was just like, I'm probably not going to read Detective, but it was nice. But I would, if you're excited about World's Finest like I am, then definitely check out Detective 1050 that came out this week. That's going to do it this week. We got through it pretty good. As always, public service announcement. I buy all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan runs an amazing store. Annie and Eduardo are great. They have a great Facebook group page where me, Derek, Wendy, we always post stuff, stories, fun stuff. But the store is great. They offer discounts if you sign up for their pull service. You get 20% off your new books. They offer 30% off of the trades and graphic novels. They have a great manga section. Annie takes care of the manga. She's really wonderful at that. It's a really nice store. It's a good comic store. There is a sister store, Pulp Fiction Culver City, in Culver City, run by Chris and her team. Same name, but separate stores run by different. Chris runs Culver. Ryan runs Long Beach. And it's a really good store. Same thing. They offer discounts and everything. And so definitely check them out if you live in the LA area. And once again, always support your local comic shop. And because once again, things are still a little tough out there, but supporting your local comic shop and getting your comics is definitely a must. As always, please get vaccinated if you haven't been vaccinated. If you have, please get your booster if you're able to. If it's time for you to get your booster, be safe out there. It's getting crazy. I've had very close friends of mine contract COVID-19, and it is not fun. They were vaccinated, but it's still been rough. So please be safe out there. Continue to wear your mask, social distance, be safe. It's really important right now. And as always, we end our show with please be kind. Be kind to each other. There's a lot of things are crazy, still crazy out there, but being kind doesn't cost anything, and you can really make somebody's day by just being kind to them. That's going to do it for this week. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, or our YouTube channel, and like and share the video. And comments are always welcome, but please subscribe. We need more subscribers. And like I said, as always, comments are appreciated as long as they're nice. But once again, be kind, be safe, take care of yourselves, and we'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and just take care of yourselves. This is Steven from Pop Culture Maven signing out. Take care. Bye-bye.